And if she has a tight, well, let's just demonstrate that. Go ahead and stand up and face the wall. There you go. Now she has a very tight capsule and she's unable to raise her arm appropriately. She's going to, if her shoulder joint doesn't work properly and it's stuck because there's ligamentous tightness in it, then let's do this one since the camera is a little bit more friendly here. If she has tightness in this shoulder joint and she tries to raise her arm up, what does she have to use to raise her arm up? She has to use her neck muscles. The muscles that go from her shoulder blade to her neck. And this is going to cause all kinds of tightness and trigger points to build up in the upper trapezius muscle, in the levator trap muscle. These are the most common pain generators I find in the upper quarter. They are the victims of upper cross syndrome. The culprits are the tight muscles in the front, the poor breathing pattern. So these are the things that we need to fix, are the culprits. Now if we only pay attention to where the pain is, we're going to get temporary relief and temporary relief only. So we have to find what's causing this problem. Okay? It could be emotional stress. It could be a problem with her husband, right? Just kidding. She's my wife, as I mentioned. That's an inside joke. But anyway, emotional stress can cause us to be uptight. Okay, so I can adjust you and retrain you and all this kind of stuff. And if you go home and you get into the same emotional stress, that pattern's going to come back again. But what I can provide you with is tools to know when you're out of balance. So when that tension comes and you feel the emotional stress coming, you can say, nope, I'm going to go find my center again. I'm going to reprogram my body. And whenever your body feels centered, your mind feels centered. And it can even help with some of that emotional stress. Okay, we've had lots of good evidence of that from people who have gone through our program. So, but let me get back to this. So with a blocked shoulder, we overuse our neck muscles. So if we only treat the side of pain, we only look at the side of pain, if we adjust it, massage it, manipulate it, put ultrasound on it, electrical stimulation on it, we can do all kinds of stuff, but if we don't fix her breathing, if we don't fix her shoulder joint, this is going to come back again and again and again, and I've got a patient for life. She's dependent upon me now. And my goal is to make her independent of me and empowered with knowledge. Okay? So that's an example. So lay back again. So another thing we do, so we've checked, that's the pec, some of the pecs, okay? And then when she lets her arm fall this way, it tells us that she's got a little more tightness in this version of the pec. There's two pec muscles, actually 3 pec muscles, but the pecsternal muscle is a little bit tighter than the pec clavicular version. So that tells me that we need to work on these guys a little bit. And again, she's had some shoulder issues in both sides, and that's what probably is the main driver here. Okay? So the other pec muscle we have to look at, and this is probably the biggest suspect or culprit in most upper quarter problems, and that's the pec minor. It goes from this little knob on your shoulder called the coracoid process to your ribs through here. And what we see is it's the muscle that curls our shoulders forward. It's the muscle that makes us look old. It's the muscle that makes us look shy. Okay, you can imagine that the really curled forward in the front muscles. Okay, and Rebecca's aren't too bad. She does a pretty good job, but there's a little bit of tightness in those. So I would go ahead and treat that. And matter of fact, let's just go ahead and treat that so you can understand what it looks like to have a blockage release done. Like I would consider her shoulder here a joint blockage. I would consider that she has a muscle imbalance with slight tightness in the upper trapezius and slight tightness in the pecs. So, let's take the one that was most tight on her, and we'll do the pecsternal version. And all we do here is very gentle. She pushes up towards me. Good, and she just breathes normally while she holds. She does it for 7 to 10 seconds or so. And then on the next time she exhales, she's just going to let that go and let it fall. And voila, we get a major release there. Okay? That's pretty significant. And that's important because if we don't release that tension out of there, then we can never be able to train her to keep her shoulder blades down in the back. because she can't get there because she has tightness in the front. So you have to release the tightness in the front to train good stability in the back. So that's an example of blockage release. That's an example of, now as far as the blockage release, that could be considered a blockage release because I'm opening up her shoulder joint. Okay, adjustments, chiropractic adjustments don't have to be high velocity, real quick, what you would think of as the big, fast, loud crack that people associate chiropractic with. It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes you do get an audible release whenever you restore normal joint motion in the neck or any other joint. Sometimes there's an audible release that occurs, but it doesn't have to happen. It's not necessary. Sometimes it just does. That's what happens whenever a joint is blocked. When you release it, it makes a sound. No big deal. It's like there's a pressure built up in the joint, kind of like a cork coming out of a bottle. It makes a sound, okay? And it doesn't mean that the adjustment was good or the adjustment was bad. It just means that we released the joint, okay? And we released the blockage. So that's an example. So what I'm doing now is I'm assessing her motion in her cervical spine. I'm just feeling for any blockages. And with her, obviously you can't see this, but I'm just moving her joint from side to side in her neck, and I'm getting really good motion on the right side. When I try and move this one on the left, I'm not getting very good motion. Okay? So what I would do, although I am a chiropractor, first thing I do go in there and adjust it, because you have to look at what leads into that muscle, and you're not going to be able to see this. So I'm going to demonstrate it on this side. We're going to pretend that the blockage was on this side. And I'm going to go in and do a little release on the muscles that lead into the joint. Okay? So what I do is I just shorten the muscle, put my thumb right there, and we just release it out. Just like that. And we lengthen the muscle as we take tension and traction the opposite direction. Okay? For some people, this feels like heaven. For some people, they say, oh my gosh, what are you doing to me? But most of the time, it's a hurt so good kind of feeling. Okay? That hurts, but oh, I need that. That kind of feeling. So, but since I release this, I'm also taking tension off the joints. But if I just went in and I whacked the joint and adjusted it and didn't pay attention to the muscular dysfunction, then she's going to keep coming back with the same problem and the same blockage in the neck. So we've saved her a lot of time and expense by working on the muscles and helping her retrain the upper body movement pattern. Okay. Speaking of that, we're going to do one more thing, which is an example of how we would retrain the ability to keep your shoulders in a nice